Om Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskritya Naram Charanarottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Viriyam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatu Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhagavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Prabhupada Lilamrita by Srila Goswami, Chapter 43, Prabhupada is in London. He attended this Rath Yatra yesterday, and how enthusiastically he was dancing. He was in ecstasy before the chariots. Now so many people came to see him afterwards. A bearded young priest, active in social service, visited Prabhupada, and upon Prabhupada's prodding, debated with him about meat eating and the Bible. During the discussion, Hansadutta and Pradyumna were citing passages from the Bible against meat eating. Later, after the priest had left, Prabhupada called Hansadutta back into his room and said, "It was not very good for us to speak on the basis of the Bible. Better we stick to the Gita. Why bother to approach them for compromise or cooperation? They'll never be convinced. What's the point of meeting with the Pope?" Those inclined to meat eating, Prabhupada said, could always find some quote in the Bible, such as the covenant with Noah after the flood. We don't even know what ghastly things are occurring in the slaughterhouse, he said. No one sees these things. So Prabhupada's point was, stick to our scripture, Gita, Bhagavata, not here or there. The next morning on his walk, Prabhupada continued discussing his talk with the priest. In the name of religion, Prabhupada said, they are killing. The Bhagavatam says, this cheating religion is kicked out, and simply worship of God is stated. Devotee, the priest last night said that Jesus ate meat. Prabhupada. Then Jesus contradicted himself. He also said, thou shalt not kill. One shouldn't imitate the Ishvara. A hippie type mendicant in India takes ganja and claims to be a devotee of Shiva. No, we should not imitate the powerful controllers. That priest also said that Bible does not say, thou shalt not kill, but thou shalt not murder. So I told him, if the word is actually thou shalt not murder in the original Hebrew, then Jesus must have been preaching to the 4th class, 10th class men, murderers. And the proof is that they murdered him. So such people, what can they understand about God? When I told him, the priest was silent. He could not answer. Another priest came to see Prabhupada. And again the question came up. Prabhupada asked him, then you are in favor of killing? The priest replied, well, it's a fallen world. It's a fallen world, said Prabhupada. But we don't have to be among the fallen. The priest cited the covenant with Noah. Prabhupada replied, maybe Noah allowed it at that time, the time of devastation. But that doesn't mean we always have to do it. To live in such a time, one can eat anything to stay alive. But now so many things are in abundance. Keep healthy without maintaining a slaughterhouse. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, protect the cows. It's a duty of the Vaishyas. Although Prabhupada willingly discussed with Christians, he admitted privately that to argue with them was a waste of time. They will never agree, he said. Even if they are defeated, the best way to preach to people in general was through the chanting of Hare Krishna, as at the Rath Yatra festival. Chant, dance, take prasadam, and invite everyone to join. Anyway, he said, they don't even follow their teachings. One boy came to me and said he wanted to talk. He said, I'm a Christian, but I told him, you're not Christian, thou shalt not kill. So Prabhupada would always stress on this point that Jesus said, thou shalt not kill, and you changed it to thou shalt not murder. Kill is for any living being. But just to satisfy their tongue, they want to kill animals and eat their meat, and they change this word to murder. Murder means just for human beings. See, this is what happens when we don't follow the scriptures properly, and we want to change, edit, delete, or whatever we want to do. Then we lose the whole thing. A man from Calcutta came to see Prabhupada, but as soon as the man began to say something about Krishna, Prabhupada interrupted. Krishna is something very difficult to understand. We're just trying to understand that there is a next life. But the Christians say there is no future life, the man said. At the end of this one, you either go to heaven or hell. But if they talk about going to heaven, said Prabhupada, then that is the next life. But knowledge of Krishna is only for the most perfect out of thousands among men. Mr. Kumar, who sometimes lived in the London temple, visited Prabhupada with many questions. He wanted to work for his ISKCON, but he said, but required money to send his mother in India. No, Prabhupada told him, our men work 24 hours a day without a farthing. Mr. Kumar suggested ways to improve ISKCON. The devotees needed to study more, he said, especially Sanskrit, and become scholars. Prabhupada disagreed. All we need is dedication, he said. I'm not a great Sanskrit scholar, but I am pulling on. And even the scholars say it is good. My Guru Maharaj, Guru Maharaj's Guru Maharaj, Gaurkishordas Babaji Maharaj was illiterate. Still his disciple, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, was the greatest scholar of the day. But when Gaurkishore spoke, it was exactly from the Shastra. Our principle is not to take time to learn something and become expert and then preach. But whatever you know, preach. Class in the morning, class in the evening, and if they read my books, that is sufficient. So that is preaching. Whatever you know, just preach. Not that we have to know all the scriptures, learn Sanskrit, and then we can preach. And moreover, when we start preaching, not just formally we have to sit down and give classes. Preaching, we just meet anybody and say something about Krishna. And when we do that, following the orders of Prabhupada, and obviously when we pray to Prabhupada to give us the strength to preach, he gives us the strength, he gives us the knowledge. Krishna, as Paramatma sitting in our heart, gives us the strength, the knowledge, the impetus to speak. Many times we speak something or something comes out of our mouth, we never read, and it just comes out. And later when we reading Prabhupada, oh yeah, I said this the other day, it's there in Prabhupada's words. It's Paramatma helps. That's what we want. And actually when we do that, we remain humble. Humility is most important in understanding that it's not that I'm doing anything. I'm just being an instrument in the hands of Prabhupada. That's it. It's not that I have so much of knowledge, I can defeat anybody, I can transform somebody. No, nothing will happen if we think like this. We become an instrument and let Prabhupada speak through us. That's it. Then it is perfect. The idea behind preaching is to transform somebody's, to make him accept the philosophy. Do whatever it is. Philosophy doesn't mean we start speaking big words, heavy words. Philosophy means simple. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. We are spirit souls. This is philosophy. But when Prabhupada speaks to us, this takes effect. One day the devotees brought Prabhupada a newspaper clipping in which an Oxford professor, Dr. D. Zahner, had said at a religion conference that Lord Krishna and his Bhagavad Gita teachings were immoral. Dr. Zahner had said that the famous murderer was perhaps influenced by the Bhagavad Gita because Krishna says that the soul is immortal. So one can therefore kill. Srila Prabhupada was disgusted at the professor's ignorance. On his morning walk, he dictated to his secretary arguments to use in writing to Dr. Zahner. George Harrison approached Prabhupada in a submissive mood similar to that of Prabhupada's disciples. Prabhupada and George took prasadam together, a special lunch of samosa, halwa, vegetables, sour cream, and puris. While they were enjoying the prasadam, Prabhupada mentioned that certain Vrindavan Pandavas, professional guys at a holy place, eat too much. Once one ate so much that he was practically dying, but he assured his son, at least I'm dying from eating and not from starving. To die of starvation is unglorious. Prabhupada smiled as he talked with George, gratefully acknowledging his donation of the manor. Have you seen my room? Prabhupada asked. It is actually your house. What, my room? No, George protested, preferring the mood of a humble disciple. It is Krishna's house and your room. When George confided to Prabhupada that by taking to Krishna consciousness, he was losing friends, Prabhupada told him not to worry. He read to George from the Gita where Krishna explains that he can be known only by devotional service. In the future, said George, ISKCON will be so large that it will require executive management. Prabhupada, I have divided the world into 12 zones with 12 representatives. As long as they keep to the spiritual principles, Krishna will help them. See, another conviction of Prabhupada. This is 1973, 6-7 years into the movement. And Prabhupada, I have divided the world into 12 zones, 12 representatives, one for each zone, and they will look into the management of every zone. As long as they keep to the spiritual principles. Prabhupada had faith at least in Krishna will. Before leaving, George assured Prabhupada that he would help him increase his temples. Later, Prabhupada commented, George is getting inward hope from Krishna. One day, an old acquaintance stopped by, Alan Ginsberg, wearing denim suspenders and a faded shirt and carrying a little Indian made harmonium. You still chanting Hare Krishna? Prabhupada asked. Yes, Alan replied. I still chant Hare Krishna, but I also chant other things. Alan asked if Prabhupada would like to hear his chanting and playing. Prabhupada nodded. Alan began playing his harmonium and chanted Om. With each recitation of the word Om, his voice went deeper. Om. When the chant was over, Prabhupada began to laugh. You can chant whatever you want to chant, he said, but just keep chanting Hare Krishna. As long as you're chanting Hare Krishna, then everything else is all right. Prabhupada then allowed many devotees to join them for a big blissful kirtan. Through George Harrison, another famous pop singer and musician, Donovan, was drawn to come and see the renowned leader of the Hare Krishna movement. Donovan, accompanied by a musician friend and their 2 girlfriends in miniskirts, sat in awkward silence before Prabhupada. Prabhupada spoke. There is a verse in the Vedas that says music is the highest form of education. And he began to explain how a musician could serve Krishna. You should do like your friend George, Prabhupada said. We will give you the themes and you can write the songs. Prabhupada said that anything, even money, could be used in the service of Krishna. But money is material, Donovan's girlfriend interrupted. What do you know what is material and spiritual? Prabhupada said. He turned to Donovan. Do you understand? Donovan humbly replied that he was thick-headed but trying. Donovan's girlfriend then leaned over and whispered something into his ear, whereupon Donovan stood up and said, well, we have to go now. Prabhupada insisted that at least they first take some prasad. As soon as the guests left, Prabhupada and his disciples began to laugh. Prabhupada said, she was thinking, and he encouraged his disciples to finish the sentence. Yes, said Yogeshwar, she was thinking that if Krishna gets him, then she will lose him. Common fear of so many people associated with devotees. Prabhupada so much liked preaching to important guests that he wanted to continue doing so wherever he traveled. Wherever I shall go now, Prabhupada wrote in a letter to a disciple, this policy of important men being invited to talk with me about our Krishna consciousness movement should be implemented. A month passed at the manor, and still several weeks remained before Janmashtami and the deity installation. So when Bhagavan requested Prabhupada to come for a visit to Paris and install Radha Krishna deities, Prabhupada agreed. Paris, August 9, 1973. The devotees had arranged an official city hall reception for Srila Prabhupada. In the presence of the mayor of Paris and his government entourage, Srila Prabhupada said, if the government leaders do not teach the citizens genuine God consciousness, then they are not responsible leaders. Reporting this talk in the next day's paper, a news writer stated that the Swami even criticized Napoleon Bonaparte. Bhagwan. We had just moved into a new temple at whatever this is, Port-Royal, Paris, and we had received 48-inch Radha and Krishna deities. Prabhupada had Pradyumna chanting the mantras and pouring the substances on the deities, while Prabhupada himself looked on from his Vyasasana, giving directions. I was assisting it. At one point, I turned around and saw Srila Prabhupada standing right next to me, taking the substances in his own hands and smearing them over the lotus-like face of Srimati Radharani. After the deities were installed on the altar, Prabhupada came up and offered the arti, and I assisted him by handing him the articles. After the installation, we went up to Srila Prabhupada's room and very anxiously requested him to please give a name for the deities. He sat back in his chair and said the deities will be known as Radha Paris Ishvara. Earlier, he named Radha Londoneshwara at the Soho Temple in London, and now Radha Paris Ishvara. Never, we cannot see these names in any of the scriptures. But this is how Prabhupada did that. He named. He then went on to say that in India, people look to England for education and to Paris for sense gratification. He began to laugh and said that Krishna has come to Paris in order to get some gopis, some French girls, because the faces of the women in Paris are considered the most beautiful. Radharani is so beautiful, Prabhupada said, just like a Paris girl. And Krishna has come here to find out this most beautiful of all the gopis. So he is Paris Ishvara. August 15th. Prabhupada returned to London and the latest mail from India. A legal complication had arisen regarding the deed for ISKCON's land in Hyderabad. Prabhupada wrote his disciple, Mahansa, cautioning him to avoid being entangled in another Bombay affair. When Prabhupada also received word that the temple construction was progressing in Vrindavan, he replied, I am pleased to hear how you are completely absorbed in the project of our Vrindavan temple and taxing your brain how it can be carried out. I'm always praying to Krishna that he may give you intelligence to carry it out rightly. In a letter to a disciple in Hawaii, Prabhupada apologized for not replying to a letter. I was very busy in Bombay for the Juhu land of Mr. N. Now he is dead and gone, but he had created so many obstacles. Still there is discrepancy. But I hope this will be squared up without delay. Writing to Tamal Krishna Goswami in Bombay, Prabhupada was as attentive as ever to the ongoing troubles there. Although the devotees remained in possession of the land and had rebuilt the temporary temple, no purchase settlement was in sight. If Mrs. N is not going to sell us the land, then what next step we have to adopt? We fixed a criminal case against her for attempting to dispossess us from the land. And what happened to that case? The idea is that if she is not going to sell the land to us and at the same time does not return our money with damages and interest and occasionally try to dispossess us from the land, then what steps we have to take? She has given us so much trouble and botheration. And Prabhupada wrote to his disciples in Mayapur, yes, Mayapur construction must be completely finished before I return. The next time I come there, must be no more workers or carpenters with their tic-tacs on. I would have continued to stay in Mayapur, but the hammering sounds drove me away. When you're completely finished, I'll go there, otherwise not. The construction takes a long time, but Prabhupada was pushing, finish it. Prabhupada also answered dozens of letters from America, where the devotees were becoming more and more keen to distribute his books. The leaders contained very crucial questions that only Prabhupada could solve. How important was book distribution? Could the devotees abandon their robes and wear regular Western clothes to better distribute books in public? Was chanting on the streets more important than book distribution? What about taking buses and vans around the country? Could they travel with deities in the vans? The devotees generally mentioned their own viewpoint in their letters to Prabhupada, and yet they respectfully awaited his definitive reply. The Krishna consciousness movement was now big, with potential for growing much bigger. And within ISKCON, Prabhupada's will was so powerful that a single letter from him would establish a policy for years to come. Prabhupada appeared to be sitting quietly in his room at the manor, following his daily routine of bathing, eating, and meeting evening guests. Yet at the same time, he was directing thousands of young men and women all over the world and sending them into action in war against fire. There is no objection to going in Western clothes in order to distribute my books. It's not necessary that we always wear the robes, but we should always keep shikha and tilak. However, a wig or a hat may be worn as you described. We have to take whatever is favorable position for executing Krishna consciousness. Do not forget our principle. Sometimes we may adopt such means in order to distribute books. Somehow or other distribute books. And if you can impress people a little to chant, then it does not matter about your dress. So, distributing books, chanting, and giving them prashadam. That was a strategy. The devotees continue to request clarification as to how far the ends justified the means in fulfilling Prabhupada's order to distribute books profusely. Srila Prabhupada, being free of any material motivation, could clearly see the Krishna consciousness, a Krishna conscious thing to do. Regarding the question you have raised about traveling Sankirtan parties and selling of books, yes, we want money. So that is a real preaching, selling books. Who can speak better than the books? At least whoever buys, he will look over. The real preaching is selling books. You should know the tactic, how to sell without irritating. What your lecture will do for 3 minutes. And if he reads one page, his life may be turned. We don't want to irritate anyone. However, if it goes away by your aggressive tactics, then you are nonsense and it is your failure. Neither you could sell a book, nor he would remain. But if he buys a book, that is real successful preaching. That is a certificate of my Guru Maharaj. If someone, brahmachari, would sell a one paisa magazine, if one of our brahmacharis would go out and sell a few copies, he would be very glad and say, "Oh, you're so nice." So distribution of literature is our real preaching. Now, if you cannot handle the matter nicely, that is your fault. Now, if you cannot handle the matter nicely, that is your fault. But the success of your preaching will be substantiated by how many books are sold. Anything you want to sell, you have to canvass it. So he gives some money for the service of Krishna. That's his good luck. And he gets a chance to read some transcendental knowledge. But if you only irritate and he goes away, that is your less intelligence. So reaching book distribution has to be done, but it has to be done very nicely, intelligent. Prabhupada's instructions were so important to his disciple that a letter from him was as effective as a personal visit. By such letters, he maintained the lives and affairs of his disciples all over the world. Each day in the late morning, he would have his secretary read aloud such incoming letters, and usually he would dictate the answer without delay. He had often said that the Vani or order of the Guru was more important than the Vapu or person presence. Thus, by his letters, he established and illuminated the path of Krishna consciousness for his sincere followers. So all these letters on all these topics, they are kept nicely in book form. We can access those letters. And wonderful instructions, so many instructions he gave through his letters. But then again, his true instructions are in his books. Letters could be circumstance-based. That somebody has something and Prabhupada answered based on that circumstance. But Prabhupada has given everything in his books. So they are the main source of our reference. They should be our guidance, our reference. Letters are important, no doubt. But books, his books, are the most important. Okay, I guess I can stop this. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, you all have safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Radha.
Hare
Jai
Krishna. Thank